All right, hello. My name is Aldo Fonseca, and you are now visiting Florida International University. I represent the Office of Undergraduate Admissions, and I'm the International Recruiter for the Western Hemisphere. My colleague and the Associate Director of International Recruitment, Ms. Sarah Noppin, she actually recruits the Eastern Hemisphere. Today, we're going to be talking to a few special guests. We're going to bring you up to speed on some of the highlights of the university, some information that you will probably find to be important. So from all of you, joining in from around the world, welcome. Thank you for spending the next 30 minutes to an hour with us. I have three guests today. The first of which is actually an international student. His name is Michael Cabral. He hails from the beautiful island of Trinidad and Tobago, beautiful islands, I should say. And so, Michael, basically, tell our viewers out there who are interested in the university, what is it about FIU really that caught your attention and that first kind of interested you in attending and kind of what ended up making up your mind about attending the university?
I think it had to do with the close proximity to home. Being from Trinidad, Trinidad is right there, right close to home. But what really interested me was the diversity of the school.
There's like about 150 different countries are represented at FIU from all over the world. Now, the majority of which do come from Latin America and the Caribbean. But increasingly, we're getting a lot of students from the Middle East. We're getting plenty of students from Africa, and of course, China and India has a very big presence here, especially at the graduate level. But continue.
So basically, I was interested in a couple of different schools. Some schools in Florida, some schools in Pennsylvania. But what really caught my attention was the scholarships offered, the different programs offered, and just overall the different involvements that I can get on campus. And of course, I chose FIU, and now I have all different involvements on campus. I used to be a high school student who just went to school and came back home. Now I'm involved in a lot of different things on campus between the Homecoming Council.
Homecoming Council. So yeah. Explain a little bit what homecoming is to some of our viewers, because that's kind of a different concept for them. For a lot of them, they're not used to some of the sort of the American culture things that you have to get used to. So if you could go ahead and explain what exactly is homecoming.
All right. Well, myself, I'm still having a difficult time trying to figure out exactly what it is. But homecoming, basically, I guess it's a welcoming of the alumni that have gone, and we welcome them to come back, watch a football game. We have a lot of different concerts that go on. I myself am actually going to be DJing at one of the concerts coming up.
Really?
The Reggae Fest.
That's awesome. So you DJ, so you're a reggae DJ, huh?
Yeah, I mean I'm a DJ of all different genres, but I love reggae. So
reggae in particular. So I imagine living in Trinidad, you had a lot of exposure to reggae as you were young.
Oh yeah. I got a lot of different exposure to a lot of different music, and the guy who's performing, I actually know him.
Really?
Yeah, and he went to school with my brother. So when he sees me on stage, he's like, "Oh, hey, what's up?"
So homecoming is is basically a series of events and kind of celebrations in the university, where students take part and they actively take roles in it, and they usually culminate in a sporting events. So, like in the U.S., especially, American football is probably the most key, the most popular sport. So all week long, the students are, dressed up in their FIU gear. People are having like little events all over campus. There's like it's supposed to be a lot of fun and to raise spirit from the university and the community in general. So besides the FIU Homecoming Committee, what other involvement on campus do you take part in?
Well, I have my fraternity. I have the Student Programming Council. I DJ for them. I've also been involved in Relay for Life, which is a philanthropic event where you try to raise money for cancer. I've been involved in Dance Marathon, which is a huge philanthropy event where we stand up straight for 25 hours, and recently they reduced it to 17 hours.
25 hours standing straight?
So we just, well, not exactly standing, but dancing.
You're supposed to be dancing.
Yes, so
I imagine by like the 20th hour, you can't feel your legs too much.
Oh, no, you can't. But luckily, I wasn't too involved with it. I was involved with it, but I wasn't one of the dancers or whatever. But I've been involved in that. I've been involved in numerous cancer research events, different ways to raise money for different diseases.
Right.
I've personally raised $1,100 for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation.
How much?
$1,100.
$1,100. Wow.
Yeah, that myself. So that was nice. It was a really different experience. Something I'm not used to. I had to go on stage and compete in a pageant.
In a pageant? Did they make you wear a dress?
Not that kind of pageant. I did have to wear a costume, but what was nice about the pageant was that I got to go up on stage, introduce myself to a lot of different people. I had to speak for a long time about why I wanted to be the representative for the organization.
Right.
It's one of the sororities on campus, and I think overall they raised about $8,500 and $1,100 of those were for me.
Now you said you touched upon a couple things that I really wanted to backtrack and kind of explain. Now, for those of you that are not familiar, fraternities and sororities are essentially groups and clubs on campus. Fraternities are for males and sororities are for females, and they do a host of activities. They proudly display their Greek letters on the shirt, so you see them when you come to the university. You see someone wearing Greek letters. It means they're part of a fraternity or sorority. Now, these fraternities and sororities can have different focuses. Some of them are social based, so they do a lot of parties and events and things. They raise awareness. They do things for charity. So it's very a huge help to the university and to the community at large. Other fraternities are more focused, like for example, there is the honors fraternities or sororities basically, and students go there and they are exceptional students, and they do a lot more academic work that's more rigorous than the regular curriculum. And then there's things like the business focused fraternities, for example. They focus more on networking and reaching out to the business community and getting their students involved in the actual business work. So fraternities and sororities is a great way, especially if you don't know anyone on campus. Like Michael and I, both of us came from outside the United States to FIU. So we got on campus, we didn't know a lot of people. Michael joined a fraternity. It's a quick way to really get to know a lot of people on campus, really get plugged into kind of like the social scene at the university and all the events and everything. So through that, I'm sure it opened a lot of opportunities for you.
Oh yeah, I think the best thing about it was that, FIU is a school of 54,000 students, and I think about, on average, about 30,000 students here.
Right.
I know this information now. I've acquainted myself with a lot of facts, but I think about 30,000 students are usually on this campus throughout the week or on a daily basis. And what was nice about it was that it really shrunk the university. 30,000 students is really
easy. It made it manageable, right?
Yeah, it makes it really easy to get lost and just become a number within the school. But now I walk through the student center and I see a lot of familiar faces. I'm very much intertwined within the university. Right. So what was great was that it kind of created that close-knit community for me that I really wanted.
I think a lot of our students, when you tell them that it's a university of 54,000 students from 150 different countries, you think that there's like this ocean stadium full of people that you're going to have to wade through. And it's really not like that. Remember that a lot of those students are graduate students. They're taking classes in different areas of the campus to focus. They're studying in different parts, and a lot of them are in their particular department. So, for example, if you're like a business student, you're taking your business courses your second and your third and your fourth year at the university. Lots of your courses are filled with students that you see on a regular basis because you're all taking sort of the same courses. Yeah. So the university becomes a lot smaller to you, especially if you're involved on campus. So I want to make sure that our students out there realize that even though we are a large university, it doesn't feel like a large university, especially if you're involved on campus. So don't dispel that notion that you're going to be lost in a huge crowd. So long as you're active and you're social and you want to meet people and be part of clubs and organizations, and even through your particular major, you're going to feel like you're in the side of a smaller community within the university. And that's not a bad thing at all. In fact, it actually helps you become more attached, I think, to the environment and to the university as a whole. Now, I did want to talk about, we mentioned some things about involvement on campus. We talked about fraternities and sororities. That's a notion that I think is very unique to like the university system in the U.S. in general. I mean, FIU in particular, obviously, but more or less, just in general, the university system in the U.S. is very unique around the world. What you have to realize is that when you're taking classes here in the U.S., it's not just about going to class. It's not just about studying. While that is the most important thing, there's no mistake about that, and that's what your parents are probably going to be most interested in. What you need to do, and apologies here. Let me just disconnect this real quick. And what that's going to interest your parents the most is that you perform well in the classroom, but there's so much more to the university system. It is about clubs and fraternities. It is about being active. It is about helping out the community, and that's why it's important. I always tell students the first thing you should do, besides picking your classes, talking to your advisor, and getting your academics squared away, is to actually join a club, like meet friends, have a good time, because these next 4 years in the university, they really are some of the best years of your life. Can you think back at some of the more, maybe memorable moments at the university that you can say that was a great time or really had a good time with that?
Anything in particular?
Anything in particular that, remember, our viewers are usually around the age of 18. Anything that can be discussed among us openly?
I think one of the most memorable things would have to be, well, there's two things. I don't know if I can say two, but think the first one would have to be when I DJ'd on the stage for Relay for Life.
Oh, really?
I DJ'd. It was just me on the stage, and it was about 4 o'clock in the morning, and everyone was extremely tired, very, very, very tired. And I came on to DJ, and every single person came around the stage, and everyone was dancing, and everybody told me after how great.
How much of a great time they had.
Yeah, and then I think the other great opportunity was when I ran for that pageant, because there was no better feeling than when I went on stage and they, asked everybody how much money they raised, and I think the closest was like 700 or 600, and $1,100. That was such a good feeling, and looking at
to be part of something like that you know,
yeah,
help
exactly.
a lot of people and
Looking
raise
at
that money and had a great time doing it.
Yeah, the entire process was amazing, and afterwards I saw where the money went, because I stayed very close to the organization, and I saw exactly where the money went, and we saw videos and pictures of people that had helped, and that was probably one of the most rewarding things that I ever had.
Now, did the event take place on campus?
Yeah, it took place in GC Ballrooms.
The GC Ballroom. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar with the campus or haven't had the opportunity to visit, which is perfectly fine. I mean, a lot of you, it's a huge luxury to be able to travel to Miami and really know the city, which is a beautiful city. The GC is called the Graham Center, and is essentially the student heart of the campus. So essentially, this is where all the students come together. They congregate. We have a Chili's on campus. We have a shawarma. We have Burger King, Pollo Tropical. There's a lot of eating venues on campus, and also where all the activities of fraternities and sororities and all the different clubs and organizations. I think there's the salsa club. I think gets out there and they perform regularly. Our capoeira club gets out there and they do performances for people, and they just do this during the week. This is like a regular occurrence. Every single day you go to the GC. This is where all the students are. They're all having a good time. They're talking. They're doing events or raising money or for certain charities and events. So for the students that are able to come and visit us, definitely you want to make a stop at the GC. That's where you're really going to see kind of like the lifeblood of the university, which is our students essentially. Now, we talked a little about the university, but remember a lot of our viewers are looking in from all over parts of the world. What is it about the university, where it's located, Miami, Florida in particular, that really also makes it an attractive destination for you?
The culture. To me, the culture is just very, very different. It's unlike any other in the States, actually. I think what it is that there's so many different people from so many different countries, and just all the languages that you hear while you're in Miami is just very, very intriguing and interesting to me. You're not just going to be hearing English all the time. You're going to be hearing different accents, different languages, and in particular, exactly where FIU is located is nice. It's just everything that's around it. The airport is nearby, the mall is nearby.
We have actually 2 malls within 5 minutes of the university driving, so that's a huge attraction for students.
And what's nice is the beach as well. The beach is not far at all, and me coming from an old island, I miss my beach.
You want to have your beach. You're never further than like 20 minutes from the beach.
Exactly. So that's what I like about it as well.
So we are talking about warm tropical weather. We are talking about 20 minutes from the world famous South Beach and 20 minutes from downtown Miami. And you know what? As a student, I remember a lot of those things. I didn't really appreciate the city until I was a student here at FIU, because it it kind of opened up different venues I didn't know were even available. For example, I took I think it was a theater course, an introduction to theater one semester, and I just took it because I needed an elective, and it sounded like it was interesting. It really opened my eyes to all the different theater productions within the city itself. So we have like something called the Adrian Arts Center, which is a absolutely beautiful building right in the middle of downtown Miami, and it brings Broadway shows, it brings musicals, it brings ballets and symphonies and orchestras. So it's wonderful to live in a city. I think that, for me, you can go kayaking in the morning, you could go to a museum in the middle of the day, and then you can go to, let's say, a sporting event, like you can go see the Miami Heat play, or you can go watch the Dolphins play or something like that at night, and you can all do all that in the space of a day, which would be an exhausting day, but it just illustrates kind of the options that you have at the university. While you're studying at the university, you have a beautiful city around you, and it also helps for you that you're able to go home relatively easy and see the family.
Yeah, it's about a 3.5-hour flight. Still pretty close to home, so that's good.
Now, the last thing I wanted to talk to you a little bit about was just the university in general, kind of the things that it offers you in terms of, I feel the university is sort of like a city within a city. So you're living on campus, like most of our international students, they live on campus. And, I'm sure they're worried, am I going to be able to get the food? Am I going to be able to have entertainment? Am I going to have a life outside the classroom that the university can offer? Because if not, you have to commute outside the university and see different areas. But as the university itself, what kind of services do you think stand out the most? They're like, wow, I'm really glad that this is within walking distance right here on campus.
Definitely the food. That was a huge deal for me. I'm a big food person, so I think we have about 24 different places to eat on campus.
About 24 different venues to eat on campus.
Yes. So what was really nice, for example, was the Fresh Food Company, which is the cafeteria, like a buffet style cafeteria on campus. So that was always really nice because they always changed up the food. So I always had different food to eat on campus, and then what was nice as well was if I ever want to get my hair cut,
So we have like a barber shop and a salon on campus for ladies out there as well.
Yeah, so
a barber shop for the men, of course.
So I was when I was able to cut my hair, dry cleaning on campus.
Well, maybe we should go visit and get a shave, right?
I know,
I think
right?
we're getting a little bit.
My stubble. So I was able to go to the dry cleaners, and everything else that I need is nearby. And even though I don't have a car on campus, I could have a car, but a car is money. But even though I don't have a car, I know a lot of people that are always willing to, give me a ride, or there's a bus stop, or the mall is right there. I can actually walk. I have a skateboard. So all these things are really, really close by, and I think there's a huge plaza like right across the street.
Right.
And
that has a shopping center for what we call the Publix shopping center, which is just a enormous grocery store.
Yeah. So yeah, huge shopping center, different places to eat, different things. If I ever wanted to go to the bookstore, if I ever wanted to.
We have a beautiful library. I think it's 7 stories. I think it was like over 1 million volumes and books available to students. And then I think they're also on Friday in the GC they have like movie night or something.
Yeah,
they have,
that
like,
is nice. I've always loved that.
So they play. Describe a little bit.
On Friday they have 2 different movies. Well, not 2 different movies, 2 different times showing the movie, probably at like 5 and then like 8 p.m. And they show like the most recent movies that you can find. That was always nice because it was a great way to meet people, especially if you're a freshman.
Yeah.
That's usually who goes to the movies. Other people do go, but it's mainly the freshmen who are trying to meet people.
Right.
Because that was one of the ways that I met a lot of the friends that I have now. Outside of all the Greek organizations, that was some of the ways that I met.
Just go to the movies, enjoy film, talk about it afterwards, and for the incoming freshmen out there, definitely this is one of the places you want to check out. I'm a big movie buff myself. I love movies, so that's one of those places that I enjoy even when I was a student.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, Michael, thank you again for your time. I want to thank all our viewers out there as well. We have a next guest coming up. But Michael, it's been a pleasure. Michael's actually now, as an international student, is currently employed in this office as a tour guide. So for you international students that say, what jobs are available for me as a student, we'll talk a little bit more about that later on. Michael, you as an international student were able to find employment right here on campus, which I'm sure made it a lot easier. There are opportunities. Remember, 54,000 students. There's a lot of services on campuses that offer jobs to students, and you can apply for them as an international student. So again, thank you again for your time. You've been great. Thanks. Cool. All right. For our next guest, we have. Jeez, Gabby. For our next guest, we have the lovely Gabriela Estevez.
Hi.
How are you? Good to see you. Pleasure. It's good to see you again. Gabby, we're going to be looking straight up. So, Gabby, you represent the Office of Study Abroad, correct? And for our students out there, let's just give them a quick overview of what this office does, the services it provides.
Okay.
Okay?
I hope you guys can hear me. I have a little bit of a cold, so I'm sorry if you get sick. Well, our office has basically 3 types of programs, okay? The first one will be the one that is led by our faculty. So you can register basically for one class or a couple of courses, and then you try a group with other FIU students, and you go to many places around the world. And those courses tend to happen in the summer. So you pay FIU tuition, and for international students, the good thing is that you guys get to pay in-state tuition. So you pay way less than what you would normally pay for a class.
Let's touch upon that a little quick. I think you raise a really important issue. Now, the university, Florida International University, we're a public institution located in Florida. Now, the only 2 rates that students pay are out-of-state and in-state. So essentially, if you're coming from, let's say, Qatar, you're paying the exact same rate as someone coming from California. So those are the only 2 rates. The only difference is for students that are residents of the state of Florida, they get to pay in-state, which is actually about 1/3 of the cost of tuition.
More or less.
So the huge benefit of a study abroad, a semester abroad, is that while you're saying that students can pay as in-state students, even if you're international?
Only for the FIU programs.
For the FIU program,
Yes,
so.
we have 3 types of programs.
Okay.
So sometimes we get confused, and then students think that they can apply to the other 2 programs and get the same rate. However, it's only for the ones where you get to travel with other peers from
Okay.
FIU.
So you're
to the
taking
same program.
FIU courses with
Mhm.
FIU professors, FIU curriculum, and peers from FIU.
Yes.
So those are the programs, completely FIU programs, where you are able to study abroad
And
and
pay
pay
in-state.
in-state.
Yes.
All right, so that's one of the programs. Now,
Mhm.
which is let's go on to the next one. So there were 3 total.
Yes. So the second one would be the international student exchange, and that one tends to happen only in fall or spring semester.
Okay.
So those happen mainly during the main semesters.
Right.
And in that case, you're not going with an FIU faculty. It's an exchange in the sense that we have an agreement, for example, with Universidad de Belgrano in Argentina, or MICEFA in France. So you get to go to that school and take classes there. Now, the tricky part is that since you're going to that school, you need to know the language of the instruction.
So if you're going to go to France and you're fluent in French, then you're in very good shape. If
Yes.
not, you might want to think about another different
Yes,
program.
and but within the international student exchange, we have agreements, for example, with Australia, with the UK,
Wow.
with Iceland, and the thing is that you don't need to know Icelandic. You can go and take your classes in
That's
English.
good. So each program could be different. Like there could
They are
be.
all different,
Yeah,
yes.
so you could go to study in one of these exchange programs where the curriculum is in English, and you could make that happen.
Yes.
So
Mhm.
you have to be even particular. You have to do a lot of investigation, and that's why you exist as an advisor.
Yeah.
You can kind of guide students to know, like, this is what the program is going to cover. You can get credit for it or not. It's going to be with FIU professors and students or not, and you kind of guide them through that process and let them know and let them pick the program that the student is best for.
Exactly. I work primarily with students that go on the exchange because that involves taking courses somewhere else,
Okay.
bringing them back to their education here at
Okay.
FIU. What we don't want to see is that, oh, I'm going to study abroad, so I'm going to delay graduation, and I'll just graduate a semester later. There's no need for that. There's
Okay.
so many study abroad programs that the idea is that it fits right into your major.
Yeah.
And that is important for international students because
Absolutely.
you guys are paying so much money. You have already a time frame. You want to have your visa, and you want to make sure that, okay, I'm not doing all these activities and things that just make me graduate in 6 years instead of 4.
Also, it's an easier sell to your parents.
Yes.
If you can tell your parents, don't worry, I'm going to go visit another country for a semester. I'm taking courses that can be applied to graduation, and I'm going to graduate on time, and it might actually be cheaper for a whole semester than
Yes.
taking courses here at FIU. I mean, that's a pretty powerful sell point. So for all those international students out there that maybe never thought about it, you think, well, I'm already studying abroad, I'm coming to the US. That doesn't have to be it. You can enjoy the United States. You can also see other parts of the world. Now, Gabby, I have to say personally, I benefited from studying abroad. Yeah, I actually was able to live in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and I spent about 2.5 months there. And the best thing about it is that I was able to receive a little bit of help, financial help from the university.
Yes.
So what kind of scholarships can students say, all right, what can I apply for, even if I'm an international student? Are there opportunities for international
Yes.
students to receive money?
For the first type of program, the FIU programs, our office has a scholarship that is the Office of Study Abroad, and
Right.
then we help students. We have changed it this year, so I believe this year it's going to be around $2,000.
Okay.
It used to be little amounts, but for many students,
Right.
now we want to make a difference into, okay, let's give fewer scholarships, but with more amounts.
So a student can be almost
they can-
completely covered.
Yeah,
in a
that
lot
would
of
be a
these,
deal,
right?
deal breaker if you cannot afford the program. So if you know in advance that, oh, I'm getting this scholarship, I have
Mhm.
this $2,000 that I can put somewhere, then it makes a big difference.
Right,
You know,
right.
compared to before, it was like, yeah, I'll get $300, $400, but that's not enough for
Of course,
the program.
that may pay for maybe a third of a flight
Yes.
if you're
You're
traveling
going to Australia.
Europe, Australia.
Yes.
$300 is what that maybe gets you a seat upgrade if you're lucky.
Something like that. So we have our office, then FIU has plenty of scholarships that you can use towards study abroad because
Okay.
you're still enrolled academically. So that's the most
That's
important
important
part.
to me, yeah.
Remember, if you're using scholarships because you're an international student, then you can keep them because you're still doing something academically. We will enroll you here at the
Right.
university in any of the programs.
So I think it's important to touch upon that, just again, so students know, is that besides the scholarships that are offered through your office or the ones that you help students apply for in your office. You're an international student. You have a scholarship from other parts of the university. If you're taking courses, and you're taking courses and they're FIU courses, a lot of your scholarships may still apply to those courses, even though you're outside of the country.
Yeah.
So that's a huge benefit. Another selling point for your parents. Keep that in mind.
Yes. And for those of you that might be either U.S. residents or citizens but living abroad and you're interested in coming here, there are nationally competitive scholarships that are selective for U.S. citizens and residents, but that are, the idea is to promote cultural awareness among our citizens. So you can apply for those because you will be studying in the U.S. Right now, you probably can because you're overseas, but we work with those as well. We have a good.
Is there any now? A lot of these students are coming into the U.S. They're going to be coming. You guys are coming in on F1 student visas, which means that you have certain restrictions of student visas. And we're going to talk a little bit about visas in a little bit. But I wanted to say, if I'm an international student, I'm on an F1 visa. You know, shouldn't I be worried that I'm going to be leaving the country for a semester? Is my visa going to expire?
That's homework for your next guest.
Okay, that's all right. So we'll talk about that a little bit. We have a next guest coming up who's an expert.
We have several F1 students that
So
go on the semester-long programs. But what
it does happen.
Yes.
Okay.
It happens.
Absolutely. Great.
But Ted's office and our office work together, honey, making sure, okay, where are you coming from? What are the requirements for your specific visa? Make sure that you're not going beyond whatever they tell you that you can leave.
Right.
So a semester is usually fine. Our exchange programs, you can do 2 semesters in a row if you want it, or 1 semester 1 year, another semester another year. It's a maximum of 2 semesters.
What would you say is the best time in my academic? I'm here for 4 years. What is the best time for me to do a study abroad? Is there such a thing as the best time to study abroad?
Yes and no. Okay, I would say for everyone almost between sophomore and junior year will be the best time.
Okay.
However, depending on your major, junior year might be better because, for example, if you're a business student, I know there's a lot of you guys out there. You have a lot of courses that are prerequisites for the College of Business,
Right.
and that is going to be true for a lot of universities around the world.
Right.
Like if you don't have your college, if you don't have like some statistics, then getting into the more difficult courses is going to be like a lot, you know.
Right.
I'm not saying that you cannot do it, but why are you going to put yourself in the situation that you need to study more, where you could be outside having fun for 3 hours instead of studying 3 hours? You know? Like, go and take the classes that would require you to study 2 hours, not 3. So.
Yeah, I think it's important that students know that when you come to the university, you're not going to be on your own in an ocean of academic courses. You're going to have academic advisors. They're going to help you every single semester pick your classes. And you're going to have advisors in the Office of Study Abroad, like Gabby, who can work with your advisors and find what is the best program for you that's going to allow you to complete your degree, that you're going to complete your degree on, in a certain amount of time, and even it's going to be cost effective, actually. So it can be an absolutely huge benefit. Now, the last segment, the last topic I want to talk to you, and for those of you that are just joining us right now, I'm Aldo Fonseca. I'm the International Admission Coordinator here at FIU. This is Gabriela Estevez, who represents the Office of Study Abroad. The last topic I wanted to talk to you about was, and you mentioned it, is cultural awareness. Now, we're called Florida International University, and a lot of our students are coming from places around the world, 150 different countries actually, and you're bringing your own kind of cultural experiences, and you're bringing with you a little bit of home, and that's a big benefit to the university. But how does study abroad help you, let's say in a sense that as a person, as a overall student, as a well-rounded individual? Like, what is the benefit of a study abroad? Not just the academic sense.
Well, there are many, like on the cultural aspect, like you're coming from your home country and then you're coming to the U.S. So you could say that you have 2 lenses that you're understanding and learning how to view the world. Well, when you study abroad, you're also exposed not only to that third country, but to the students that are there with you. So you may be going to, like we said, Spain. Well, you're going to have students from Finland, from China, from Japan, from Bolivia, and they're going to bring their own lenses. So by interacting with your peers, that will help you learn more about them, but you'll be surprised. I'm sorry, guys.
It's all right. I'm going to have to borrow one in a minute.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
How much you learn about yourself. Okay, all the students that come back, they let us know how much they grew, you know, and college is a stage in your life where you're going to develop more, you're going to grow as a person, but These just is kind of an accelerated program,
Right.
for your developmental growth.
Absolutely, it's just an amazing experience. And
Yeah.
speaking from personal experience, it's one of the things that I still talk today about, and it's one of the biggest selling points I actually use. So I mean that ties in, like I said, like we are a very international and diverse campus. We're one of the most diverse campuses in the United States, actually. And the reason is because the world that we live in now is a lot smaller. That's just the reality. I mean, you may have to relocate to get the job that you want. So I think for the importance and what your office brings is the ability to students to know that, to kind of find themselves and say, I can go study abroad and I know I can do it because I've already done it. I know I can speak a different language. I know I speak multiple
And
languages.
we have many students that after they do a program, like for example, if they do a short program, okay, next is a whole semester.
Right.
Or I want to do an internship there.
Yeah.
Or I want to go and do my master's abroad.
It's just like the tip of the iceberg that all of a sudden opens in the entire world.
Yeah, they get bit by the travel bug. So,
Well, I've been infected with the travel bug happily for like about a decade now. So
that's
a
good.
world
So
traveler
that's good.
definitely, and it was study abroad actually that did it. So Gabby, I want to thank you again for your time. I
Thank
hope you
for
feel
inviting
better.
me. Yeah, sorry if I get you sick.
No.
Sorry, guys.
And to our viewers again, thanks for Ms. Gabriela for the information. We have one more guest with us.
Okay,
And
thank you. Have a great day, guys.
bye. We have one more guest with us today, coming from the Office of International Student Scholars Services, Mr. Ted Randall. Ted, how are you?
Hey, all, how are you?
Welcome to the show.
Long time no see.
Too long, right?
You've been on the road a long time.
Actually, yes. I did a tour of about 13 different countries in about 35 days.
That's awesome.
So for those of you outside the country, there's a chance I might have visit you if you tune in, especially from Latin America. And then actually the associate director,
Great.
Sarah Noppin, she was actually in India and Southeast Asia for about 45 days. So we were
That
out
sounds
there.
fun.
So Ted, you represent the Office of International Student
That's
Scholars
right.
Services.
Yes, I'm the associate director there, International Student Scholar
Mhm.
Services. So we're the office that welcomes all the international students, both J1 and F1.
All right. So J1 is for
FIU.
students, yeah. So J1 would be for students that are coming to study for like
So
short
they'd
term.
be part of Gabby's
Okay.
program, J1 exchange students.
Yeah, so
There's a
exchange students from
specific
other
visa.
countries coming to study at FIU for a
Yeah,
semester, for
right.
example. Because it's a
And,
two-way venue. We mentioned.
Exactly, Gabby's office
Okay.
handles the J1s. I create the documents that they
Okay.
need for that. And then we also manage and assist the international students on F1 visas.
Okay.
These are students that are fully admitted to FIU. They get issued an F1 student visa and they're here in a degree-seeking program or a certificate program.
Okay, so I want to backtrack a little bit because we're using terms F1 student visas and things like that.
Yeah.
And a lot of our audience is, 17, 18-year-olds, maybe have
Sure.
some parents out there. But we really want to, kind of explain to them what does it mean to study in the United States, because there's different types of visas, right? The most common
Sure.
visa for entering the United States is, I imagine, the tourist visa.
Yeah, it
right?
would be a B1 or B2
A B1
visa,
or B2
tourist
visa, which maybe some of your parents have, maybe you have already.
Mhm.
A B1 means you're the one who has the visa. A B2 means that you are dependent on
Usually,
someone who
right.
has a.
Mhm.
So if you're underage, you have a B2 visa. Now, you enter the U.S. as a tourist, you can go shopping, you can go sightseeing, things like that. But if I want to take classes, can I just take classes as a tourist on a tourist
No.
visa?
You cannot attend school or enroll or apply for college
Right.
on a tourist visa.
Absolutely not.
Right.
Prohibited. All right.
Correct.
So students coming into the United States will then apply for the F1 visa. Right. So you apply for admission to the university, and that would be
Yeah.
through my office.
Mhm.
We would issue to you, once you're admitted to the university and you have the necessary funds, what's called the I-20, correct?
Right, correct.
So that I-20 is issued particularly by the university. It says you've been admitted. It's basically like a get
It's a
into the U.S.
certificate,
Yeah,
right.
get into
exactly.
the U.S. pass because you got admitted to school.
Right.
Right. So you take what happens? You would take the I-20 to, I would imagine, an embassy or something like that.
Yeah, so the process seems a little daunting, maybe a little complicated, but it's straightforward once you start to delve into it. So you're going to get issued the I-20 from your office.
Right.
You're going to make an appointment at your consulate in your home country
Right.
for an F1 visa interview.
Okay.
So part of the documentation that you bring to that interview is this I-20.
An admission letter probably
The
helps.
admission
Have that
letter.
with you.
You also have to provide the appropriate amount of
Financial,
funding.
Right.
So there's a funding document or a bank letter
Okay.
that has to also be with you when you go to the appointment.
And you would have to prove to the federal government, the embassy, the consulate, that you're able to pay for one full year the
Correct.
cost of attendance at the university. So that's
Right.
what that bank letter is for.
That's all they ask for is to show funding for one full year.
Right.
However, it's then implied with that letter that you do have the funds to complete your education and,
Okay.
and support yourself as a student in FIU. Now, you can either have personal funds or you can have a sponsor.
So you can have, it doesn't have to
It
come
could be your
from
parents, your
yeah,
uncle,
okay.
your grandparents.
So it doesn't have to come from your checking account. You
Correct.
can have your parents, you can have an uncle like you
That's
said.
right. So you
So
do
that
a
makes it a little
sponsor
bit
letter.
easier, yeah.
You do a sponsor letter identifying the sponsor is in the relationship
Okay.
to you, the student, and then they would have the bank letter in their name saying, yes, they have the funds of such and such amount for an academic year.
Okay. So they're issued the 20, they do the interview at the consulate or embassy. Hopefully the interview goes well, and you get your F1 student visa. You
Right.
enter, how, now, if I just get my visa and school starts in August, and let's say it's May.
Right.
Can I just come into the U.S. and start off and, apartment hunt
No.
or anything? No, I can't?
Correct. So with immigration in the United States, a lot of restrictions, a lot of rules,
Right.
and that's true with the F1 visa.
Okay.
Our website posts most of this information, but just to answer that particular question, if you're admitted for a certain term that has a certain start date, that start date will be indicated on the I-20
Okay.
as the program start date. You can enter the United States up to 30 days before the beginning of the semester.
So you get about a month, the most.
Yeah, so
30 days.
don't show
tops.
up at the port of entry 2 months before school starts.
They will not let you into the
They
country.
may not most likely let you in.
That's a wasted plane
Yes,
ticket. Your
exactly.
parents will be very upset.
Exactly.
Don't do that. Okay.
But the benefit of that is they will allow you in up to 30 days before the semester starts. So
Okay.
that means you can come here 30 days before school, get accustomed to your surroundings, come here to FIU, meet with your academic advisors. You can even start on-campus employment
Okay.
30 days before the semester starts.
So
So
for
it
those
allows you a lot of preparation time.
So for those
before
students that are
classes.
so for those students out there that really are go-getters and like to
Yeah.
take the initiative,
Exactly.
you can get here 30 days before if you have. Now the tricky thing with that is on-campus housing. I know you don't represent housing, but
Right.
you deal with students that are
We do.
constantly working with where they're going to live in the
Exactly,
meantime, which
exactly.
isn't easy because they're coming in a month before. Oftentimes the university housing isn't ready for you, so don't think that
That's
you
right.
just enter the university and we're going to have an apartment ready.
That's right.
People are still living in their house, in their apartments, and they're not ready yet. So, can maybe through anecdotes, can you talk about like some of the pitfalls that students can avoid? Maybe like saying,
Yeah, I would say one of the biggest pitfalls to avoid is to show up in our office the first day of school
Mhm.
with your luggage directly from the airport,
which I imagine
which has happened.
has happened, but it's not that regular. right?
It's
Like,
not
most
the
students
norm,
are-
but
okay.
it's happened enough that it always stays in my mind that, how can someone travel all the way from Dubai or from Egypt or Panama and they show up and like, oh, I need a
don't know,
room. I know that your website stresses it.
Right.
I know that our information on our website emphasizes that housing is something that you must prepare for in advance.
Right.
Visit the housing website here at FIU. They also have rules and guidelines, and you need to book your on-campus housing in particular
Right.
early. The on-campus experience here at FIU is much different.
Right.
I think it's a little more
And
dynamic
I
as
always,
a student
yeah, I've
living
always,
off campus.
yeah, I've always told students that if you're able to live on campus
Yeah.
at least 1 year,
You're right.
that it is well worth it because the experience
well
you have, the friendships you make, the people that
Exactly.
you interact with who you would have never interacted with
It's
before.
it would be more common collegiate experience in the U.S. if you live
Yeah.
at least one semester on campus.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely worth it. But the thing about housing on campus is that often those apartments, let's say you do have housing on campus, the university says you're going to give you an apartment. Those apartments are usually not ready for you until maybe a few days before the start of classes.
Yes. Oftentimes we can coordinate for individual students with housing
If it's
if they
available.
have some kind. Yeah, if it's available, if they have some kind of necessity that they're arriving a couple of days early. There's nothing really official set up
Right.
that permits international students to arrive with on-campus housing a week or two before school.
Yeah.
That's nothing that's official right
Right.
now.
So if you're
So
in a
if you
student
do
out
come
there,
early, you have to make other arrangements
Exactly.
for housing up
Right.
until when housing allows you to officially check into your room.
So something to rehash for everyone out there. Perfectly fine to come into the country within 30 days of the start of classes.
Right.
But housing, if you're living on campus, is probably not going to be available to you until a few days before.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to personally make arrangements about where you're going to live and transportation in those days beforehand. I think that's the message we want to really tell the students
Exactly.
out there. That's really important. And the good thing is also the airport is really kind of close to the university. And I think you can get here like without traffic in less than 15 minutes because we're connected by a highway. So a lot of
Yeah,
students.
you can actually see it from the top floor of the library.
You can see the airport from the top floor of the library.
Yeah.
You can actually see the university when you're flying in sometimes
That's right.
to land at the
Almost
airport. You can actually
fly-
point out the campus.
Yeah, you fly parallel to it.
I've always said that we should have a gigantic FIU garden.
That's
that
right.
says
Yeah, that would be
FIU
great.
on it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so a student arrives and
Yeah,
what
and
is-
if I may just jump back 1 minute to the visa process.
Okay, go ahead.
One thing that's important when you go to the consulate that you need to understand is part of the interview process includes that the consulate officer is already believing that you have immigrant intent. So the idea of an F1 visa is...
What is it? Explain what immigrant intent
Yeah,
means.
so what an F1 visa is, it's a non-immigrant visa.
Okay.
And non-immigrant intent means that you come in on the visa and you're promising that I don't intend to apply for permanent residency or apply for political asylum once you let me into the United States.
Right.
I'm not going to be sneaky and violate the
laws of the United
status
States,
of my
your
visa
status.
by applying for this.
Basically, it's saying that you're here to study.
That's right.
You have a certain time in which you're supposed to complete those studies, and while you're a student, perfectly fine. You know, you're here, you're in status, and then when you finish your degree, the United States government essentially says it's time for you to go home and
Right.
use that degree back at home. Right?
So you establish the non-immigrant intent typically, by showing that your family, your property, your banking, your home, that kind of thing are back home in your home country.
So that's
And
what
you expect that after you finish your degree and take advantage of your F1 benefits, that you most likely will return back home.
Exactly.
It doesn't mean that, however, that down the road in your career that other opportunities may
right.
offer themselves, but at least in the interview process for this visa,
That's
you
really
have to
important.
establish non-immigrant intent.
So basically, you want to tell the person that's doing the interview, and the interview can be quick. The interview can be maybe 2 minutes. So some interviews are just like they just want to see your documents. You say, I want to study and come back home, and that's essentially it.
And really, you just answer the questions that they ask you.
Right. So I mean, the other thing is like to say basically, like what you mentioned, you want to impress upon them that you do intend to go home. Now, once you're here, and let's say you get an opportunity for employment afterwards. Let's say your career and your education has given you these opportunities. Then it's fine if your employer wants to change what was it called? Sponsor
to sponsor you for
sponsor
a
you
work
for
visa, that
change
sort
your
of thing.
visa from a student visa to
Yeah.
a work visa. That's fine. Once you're here, you are allowed to explore those opportunities. It's kind of what college is for.
Yeah.
But upon entering the U.S. the first time, definitely want to impress upon the person interviewing you that you do intend to return. Okay. Now, I want to get back to a student steps on campus here at the university. What are some of the responsibilities that this student has to take upon himself as an international student?
So really, first off, the main responsibility is to be informed.
Okay.
So the university as a whole doesn't accept, nor does my office accept, nor does the United States Immigration accept the excuse that I didn't know or no one told me,
Okay.
especially in the day of information age.
So repeat that again because this is huge.
Correct.
Yeah.
So FIU will not accept, and that is, for example, the admissions office, the registrar's office, your department or your professor for a particular class.
Mm-hmm.
Immigration won't accept this excuse, and my office won't accept the excuse that I didn't know and no one told me.
Strike those phrases from your mind.
That's right.
When you're here as a student and you are to stay in status of an international student, it is your responsibility to know what you can and cannot do.
That's right. So, a part of coming to college is it's one of your first big steps as a young person and in becoming a young adult and being responsible for yourself. So the primary source for information that you'll need to know as an F1 student is on our website,
Right.
ISSS@fiu.edu.
ISSS.fiu.edu for those of you that are interested and curious for more questions.
Yeah, so, the pertinent information on how to keep your status, what you're responsible for doing as an F1 student, is posted, it's out there. Most of it's mailed to you in a pre-arrival brochure.
Okay. So
That's
you'll get
part
it
of your
within-
admissions
yeah.
letter.
You'll get an admissions packet. In your admissions packet, you'll have
Yes.
information on
I
it.
encourage you to read it.
Yeah, read all of it. Don't just say I got in and then leave it collecting dust in a
Yeah.
corner in your room.
So
Read
that
everything.
being said, the basic steps once you arrive here at FIU
Mhm.
is one, you're going to make sure that you're enrolled full-time.
Yes.
That's an immigration law that
You must
that
be
you have to abide by as an F1 student.
and it's 12
Enroll
credits,
full-time
if I'm not mistaken. It's
as an
12
undergraduate
credits,
student,
12 credits per semester, if I'm not mistaken.
fall and spring.
Fall and spring. So you have to take at least 24 total credits between fall and spring to maintain your status.
Right. And if
Okay.
the summer semester is the particular summer you're admitted for, and it's your first summer, your first semester here
Mhm.
is summer, you have to be full-time in the summer semester.
So 12 credits there as well.
Otherwise, then the following summer, though, you wouldn't have to be.
Okay. So your first semester in the university, if you decide to come not in August when most of the classes start, you want to say it's starting June, which is perfectly fine. Just keep in mind that you will have to take 12 credits for that semester. Now, every summer after that, you don't have to take 12 credits.
Right.
It's just that first one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So after that, just fall and spring, you have to be full-time. Another issue with enrollment is online courses are becoming more and more popular,
Right.
but the immigration rules only allow you to take one class online towards your full-time enrollment.
So one per semester?
One,
You would
right.
say?
So fall and
of those
spring,
12 credits,
you could have 3 credits online.
one of my classes, which is about 3 credits, can
Yep.
be an online course, but that's it.
That's right.
Okay, the other 9 credits, you have to come in person. Now, you can take more credits than that if you want. Let's say I have 12 credits. Let's say I have 9 credits on campus, but I want to take 2 online courses.
You can do that.
I can do that.
Right, so the magic formula to look at your schedule is to always see that you have a minimum of 9 credits on campus.
Okay.
And
9
then you know
credits
you can
where
take
you come as a person and sit in a classroom and
lecture
take a
classes.
course. Yes.
And this is, this is all described in the course description when you
Yes.
apply for it online.
And also available on the website, ISSS.
We have in place a pop-up for enrollment. So when an international student goes online to enroll, they'll have a pop-up that reminds them about
Mhm.
this particular issue of being enrolled full-time.
Okay.
So some of the other things that you'd be responsible for is I definitely, it's not mandatory, but I definitely encourage students to come to our international student orientation.
Right.
You're going to have orientations on campus.
Mhm.
There's general orientation for the school as a whole, but then we have our own orientation specifically for international students.
Okay.
And
So I'm going to say that
we
again.
describe all of this information to them.
When you're coming in as a freshman, you are actually required to do the regular freshman orientation, where you're going to pick your classes, you're going to get your ID. This happens in the before the first day of class, usually, a few days before. You pick your ID. Ideally, you can actually do your orientation even long before. You pick your classes, you get your ID. They kind of give you a tour of the university. You have other peers. It's a lot of activities too. It's supposed to be fun as well. That's regular orientation. Now, you said it's not absolutely mandatory, but I'm going to say it's mandatory.
Yeah,
I'm going to tell you guys.
We don't use the wording mandatory,
Yeah.
but
Well, I'm going to use that word.
more often than not, I find students who down the road have problems with their immigration status.
And the information
They
they're
didn't
gonna have.
attend
Yeah.
the immigration orientation.
So besides regular orientation, you would go visit Ted's office, and they actually have an orientation session for students, for international students, and they sit down and they go through all of these topics that we're talking about and a lot more, and make you aware of what you can do and can't do as an international student,
We'll
how to
have
stay in status.
probably like 400 students in the fall.
Yeah, so it's a
Yeah.
big orientation.
So it's a major orientation session, and
But it's also a great way to meet a lot of students from
Oh,
around
yeah,
the world.
yeah.
I mean, think about it. This
Absolutely.
is probably one of the best times where
absolutely.
you're going to meet people that are coming in that are in exactly the same spot as you, from different parts of the world, and maybe even the same country that you didn't even realize. So it's actually a great
That's
way
right.
to meet other people.
Our numbers are China and India make the biggest numbers, and that's true nationally across
Right.
the country. China and
Those are
India
the trends,
are our
right.
largest number of F1 students. But then here, because of our geographical location, we have the largest number of F1 Venezuelan students in the
Right.
country.
Venezuela is very well represented. here.
We also have a lot of Latin American, South American,
Very true.
and then
I can attest to that. I came from Central America.
yeah. So we have a lot of students from Colombia, Brazil, Venezuela, and then surprisingly, we have in our top 5 students from Bangladesh.
Bangladesh.
They're engineering students, so we believe
You
that
guys are
someone in
coming-
the engineering department is heavily recruiting out of Bangladesh.
Someone's
That's
doing a very good
interesting,
job
too.
out there.
That's interesting.
So for all of you guys that are
fun.
hailing from Bangladesh,
And
you're
then,
out there.
and then sprinkled in there, I mean, I'm the favorite part of my job is on a daily basis. Have appointments with students, and they come from all over the world. So any given week,
That's really the best part about it.
I've sat with students from Italy, from Spain, from Portugal, I just had a student from Iceland.
That's great.
So it's interesting, and I get a few minutes to be able to speak and talk with them and kind of ask questions and ask
to
how
know
their
the students
experience
and
was
everything.
here in the U.S. and at FIU. And then sometimes I'm curious about their country, like do they have, social health care? And I learned from Iceland that they don't even write checks.
They don't write checks.
They don't write checks from a checkbook or checking account.
Is it an IOU?
They only have electronic transfer of money,
Electronic transfer.
either
of
through
money.
debit cards or credit cards.
Oh,
So,
okay.
I thought that was interesting because I had to help her fill out a check.
And she didn't know, well, what is
And
this?
She didn't know.
So little
know
things that you
exactly
learn
how to do
about,
it,
yeah,
so-
little things that you learn that you would have never
Yeah,
realized
it
if
was
you didn't have
interesting.
that exposure, right?
Right.
And it's so interesting because our students, you're going to learn things like that from other students and things like that, and a lot
That's
of your
right.
professors also.
Now, that brings up another topic, which is a big part of our office, which is student programming.
Okay.
So our international office doesn't only advise you for immigration questions and issues and things, but we also have funds from the student government to have social programming for international students. So we have welcome dinners each semester. We have
Oh, so
bus tours of Miami. Every month, every first Wednesday of the month, we have a coffee hour.
right.
And the coordinator for that now has kind of made it a little more structured. So, so for example, today's coffee hour is the first Wednesday of October, and it is the 1st of October. Right?
I know,
Yeah,
right?
it's
It's
cool.
October 1st.
So today's coffee hour is Egyptian coffee.
Interesting.
So our Egyptian students have put, they're going to cook special Egyptian coffee.
At what time does it
They
start?
showed us how to do it,
Uh-huh.
and then they're going to bring in certain, foods and make a little presentation on customs and things about
That
Egypt.
sounds amazing.
Last semester, I think, or last month, the coffee hour was Venezuela.
Oh, that's good.
So there's that theme going on with
And I'm
the
sure-
coffee hours.
And in Miami, Cuban coffee is just every
Yes,
single
yes,
day.
yes,
Because of
that's
that.
I can't wait for the Cuban coffee session.
Now, you mentioned that there are certain clubs that are associated with international students. So there's the International Student Club. And
That's right. Yeah,
the
that's a
welcome
big
dinner.
club.
The welcome dinner is that also one of these things that it changes by region? It can be like the
No, it's typically a general kind of an Americana theme
Okay.
usually.
all
And
right.
we also have each fall we have a Thanksgiving dinner,
Okay.
so we can expose our international students to that
Thanksgiving,
very
right.
popular,
Very popular American
tradition.
tradition of Thanksgiving.
Sure, yeah.
Watching American football too, that helps a
And
lot.
we have bus tours of Miami.
You also have beach tours, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, then the International Student Club usually will have a beach day each semester.
So they'll pick you guys, everybody
South
up. You go to
Beach.
South Beach, have a good time, really
Yeah,
enjoy the
yeah,
city.
yeah.
So it's a lot of fun then.
It is.
That's great. So it's a lot of outreach to our international student population.
That's
Make
right.
sure you guys are really enjoying the university outside the classroom, which is something
Yeah,
we talked
yeah.
about earlier.
And it also gives our office gives a place for international students to kind of feel like they have a place to come. We have a lounge
They can just come and
with
relax.
computers. You could come and do homework, meet with other students there.
That's good.
Um,
The last topic I really wanted to cover,
Yeah.
because we're almost out of time, was let's say I'm an international student and I'm on campus and maybe my apartment, my housing is covered, but I want to earn some extra cash.
right.
What do I need to do? Like, what can I do to
Yes.
earn that cash?
So this is always a big issue with international students. Many of them want to come here and they kind of realize, hey, I could earn a little extra money. All I need to do is find a job and work.
No problem. Really easy, right?
However, as part of your F1 visa,
hmm
you're restricted in what you can do for employment.
Okay.
So as I mentioned, you can come initially and start an on-campus job pretty much right away.
Like we actually had one of our previous guests, an international student, Michael Cabral. He actually works here as a tour guide. So
Yeah.
he does he has his 20, 25 hours a week, gets a
Yeah.
paycheck, and he had to go through a process for that though.
Yeah, so you can get an on-campus job. That's the easiest form of employment that you'll be offered.
We're a huge university, so there's lots of jobs on
Yeah,
campus.
lots of student jobs. So there's a process. There's a letter that you have to get from the hiring
Mhm.
department or section on campus. Present it to our office. We'll give them the on-campus certification
Right.
form.
So it
You'll
does
be
take a
allowed
little
then
bit
to
of
get
time.
You'll be allowed then to
Yeah.
get your social security number, but then, within a couple of days, you'll be set and able to start work on campus. In terms of off-campus employment, immigration has really strict rules on what you can do.
Right.
Basically, you cannot work off campus as an F1 student unless you have and are eligible or qualified for off-campus employment. You have to get authorization from the United States government.
Okay, so for those of you students that think you can just come here and then go to the mall, get a job at the Gap, or get a
No.
job anywhere, you have to go through a process where the federal government of the United States approves your employment off campus.
Right, and that's only under certain circumstances.
Certain circumstances, yeah.
So you're
What
expected to have the
circumstances?
funds to pay for school when you come here.
Right, so it's not an issue of I need this money to
So,
pay for classes. That
right.
shouldn't be an issue because
That
you already
shouldn't be-
show that you have the money.
right, you shouldn't be applying for a hardship employment because you're
Mm-hmm.
supposed to have the money. One of the benefits of being an international student, when you complete your program, you can apply to the government for an employment authorization card
Mhm.
for optional practical training.
Optional
so they'll give you
practical
12 months
training.
of training.
Right, so optional practical training, we call that OPT here,
Mhm.
and it's used a lot. As an international student, you're going to hear that a lot. So optional practical training allows you to work after you graduated from the university.
yeah.
For how long?
For up to 12 months,
Up to 12
depending
months.
on what your major was.
So it has to be something linked to what you studied in the university.
Right, so the
or-
employment has to be related to your field of study.
So if you're an engineer and you get an engineering job after university,
Right.
you can get that OPT and you can remain in the United States working.
Right.
But if you're an engineer and you get a job as a sales consultant, that might not fly.
It may not, depends on what you're selling.
Okay.
You know,
So if I'm selling engineering supplies, that might be a little.
Right, yeah, and that's why the government uses the word related to your field of
Okay.
study. So they do give you that broad definition,
So
so
it's this flexible.
things
But,
can tie in.
yeah.
So you can apply for 12 months of optional practical training.
Right.
Majority of our students use it for when they're going to graduate. My office will assist you with the application process, and you typically apply in your last semester, in the
Right.
semester in which you're going to graduate.
Okay.
The other opportunity for getting practical experience is through an internship,
Mhm.
and this is called curriculum practical training. The key thing here being curricular, that is that the internship or the job you'll do off campus is directly related to your field of study, and that your program actually has an internship co-op or practicum class as part of the curriculum. So you earn credit for that experience towards graduation.
Okay. So let's rehash this a little bit.
Yeah, it's not
Let's say-
so that
yeah.
you can work.
Let's say that you are in the business school. You're a marketing major.
Right.
You're studying marketing, and the business school offers a class that's called, free study or an internship, and it's basically an
Yeah.
internship class, which means that if you find an opportunity outside the university that deals with marketing, the university will award you that as a class in itself. Is
Yeah,
that correct?
so the College of Business would enroll you in their
You're taking 3 credits as internship, but you're
That's
not
exactly
taking a
right.
class. You're actually going into
Right,
Miami and working in an office and everything. It's
Yeah,
your internship.
So as
right?
long as that internship job off campus meets their criteria at the College of Business for that internship, they'll allow you to participate in that. But then you have to come to our office and get the authorization
and put
to
the
actually
paperwork, yeah.
participate in it.
So the
That
your
authorization is
actually-
granted out of our office.
So the paperwork and all the actual everything that you need, the actual permission from the government, that comes
That
directly
comes from
your
us.
office. So it's not just enough to get the internship and have a class in your department
Right.
that allows for that internship. You have to go to ISSS. I think the message here, the overall message from international students that I want to stress the most is ISSS, International Student Scholar Services. They're here to answer all those little doubts and questions that you may have at any point as an international student between the time you come and even before and after you graduate.
Yep.
So anytime you have that kind of dilemma, should I do this? Can I do this? Do not risk it. If you lose your status in the U.S., you may not be allowed to return to the U.S.
Yeah, it's stressful. It's complicated.
Yeah.
It happens to students every semester.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, but it's something that I don't like to see.
Come talk to Ted.
But
That's-
students can get pretty stressed out about it, and so I encourage you, like Aldo saying, that as far as the immigration side of the house, we're the ones that you want to come and ask.
Yes.
Don't take advice from anyone else or from any of your friends. please come and ask us. Our email is isss@fiu.edu.
ISSS@fiu.edu for any questions on that.
Always email us. And I'll put one last plug out for FIU.
Go for it. Go for it.
Since I know a lot of you young folks are thinking about coming here to FIU. I got out of the service and came here to FIU and got my bachelor's degree. I got my master's degree, and now I work here. So I've been associated with
You're a
with
hardcore
FIU.
Panther.
That's it. I'm a Golden Panther through and through. So I've been associated with FIU for, I don't know, almost 18 years now. So,
That's impressive.
yeah. So it's been awesome.
From one Panther to another,
That's it.
it's an
That's it.
amazing ride, hasn't
That's
it?
right, yeah.
This is my alma mater. I got my bachelor's degree here in
There you
international
go.
relations.
Right.
This is home for me. It's home for you as well.
That's right,
so
yeah.
it's great, being able to rep the university.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank
Absolutely.
you again for
Great,
your
Alden.
time. It was
Thank you very
wonderful.
much.
I'm sure the information was very useful
I
for
hope
our
so.
students out there.
Yep.
And thank you again.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Thank you. All right, so thank you again for your time. That about wraps it up for this session here at FIU. My name is Aldo Fonseca. I represent the Office of Undergraduate Admissions here at Florida International University. You can find all our information available at admissions.fiu.edu. Feel free to contact us with any questions that you have. I'm going to be going online a little bit longer to answer some of your questions online. But again, thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoyed our guests, and I hope you enjoyed the information that we offered to you. Thank you.